You are walking alone in the woods at dusk. A twig snaps somewhere behind you. Your whole body reacts before your mind even catches up. Heart rate spikes. Muscles tense. Eyes scan the tree line. For a second you are afraid of the forest. But here's the strange part. If a lion, a wolf, or a bear had made that sound, most animals in that forest would barely flinch. It's your voice, your footsteps, your smell that sends them running. Scientists have found that across the planet, wild animals are more afraid of the sound of a human speaking calmly than the roar of a lion. Not a scream. Not a gunshot. Just talking. How did that happen? How did a slow, clawless, fangless primate become the thing every other predator learned to fear? The answer isn't strength. It's memory. For millions of years, the rules of the wild were simple. Predators hunted. Prey fled. If you survived an attack, you carried the fear with you, but only you. A gazelle that escaped a cheetah didn't warn the herd across the valley. It didn't pass a lesson down to gazelles born 10 years later. Fear lived and died with the individual. Then something new arrived on the savannah. Early humans were not the strongest animals in their environment. They weren't the fastest either. A leopard could kill a human in seconds. A crocodile could drag one under before help arrived. On paper, humans should have stayed near the bottom of the food chain forever. But when a leopard attacked one member of an early human group, the story didn't end with that one person. It got remembered. It got repeated around a fire. It got told to children who hadn't even been born when it happened. The predator that killed once became a threat that every future generation already knew to avoid. This is the part evolutionary biologists still find remarkable. Humans didn't just react to danger. They archived it. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham has argued that the control of fire may be one of the most underrated turning points in human evolution. Fire didn't just cook food and soften calories for smaller guts and bigger brains. It pushed back the darkness that every predator had used as cover for millions of years. A pride of lions that once treated the night as their hunting ground now faced flickering light, human voices, and a group that didn't scatter in panic. Fire turned nightfall from an ambush into a stalemate. And then came something even more dangerous than fire: coordination. A single human was prey. A group of humans, moving together, throwing rocks, sharpening sticks, shouting in unison, was something else entirely. Predators are built by evolution to read danger through size, teeth, and claws. They are not built to read danger through planning. When early humans learned to surround, to flank, to wait and ambush themselves, they broke a rule that had held for the entire history of predation. Prey doesn't plan ahead. Humans did. Here is where the story takes its strangest turn. Because humans didn't just defend themselves. They started hunting the hunters. Wolves, big cats, and other apex predators that once had no serious rivals began encountering something that could track them for days, that remembered where their dens were, that returned again and again even after being driven off. A wolf pack that lost members to human hunters didn't just lose the fight in the moment. Something deeper happened. Biologist Chris Darramont, who has spent years studying how humans function as predators, has described our species as an ecological force unlike any other. Where wolves might kill a fraction of a prey population, humans have historically removed far higher percentages, and done it faster, and done it in ways that other predators simply can't replicate. Darramont's research suggests this isn't just hunting. It's a completely different kind of pressure on the ecosystem, one so intense that species have had to evolve new behaviors just to survive it. Which brings us to the fear. Not the fear of claws. The fear of the voice. Ecologist Liana Zanet ran an experiment that sounds almost too simple to matter, and yet it changed how scientists understand the modern food chain. She and her team placed hidden speakers in the wild and played different sounds near watering holes and trails. Growling lions, barking dogs, and humans simply talking in a normal, conversational tone. No yelling. No aggression. Just voices. The animals fled fastest and stayed away longest from the human voices. Not the lions. Not the dogs. Think about what that means. A lion is an animal these species have coexisted with, and been killed by, for thousands of generations. And still, the sound of a person chatting registered as more dangerous. Zanet and her colleague Justin Sirachi called this the fear of the super predator, a fear so deeply wired into modern wildlife that even animals who have never personally encountered a hunter still react to a human voice as if their life depends on it. Why would evolution build that in so fast and so universally? Because the animals that didn't learn to fear the voice didn't get a second chance to learn it later. Unlike a bite, unlike an ambush, unlike smell, human hunting has for centuries been long-range, silent until it isn't, and devastatingly effective. By the time an animal identifies the threat, it may already be too late. Evolution doesn't wait for perfect information. It rewards whichever mutation, whichever nervous system, whichever instinct keeps the next generation alive. Populations where individuals treated human sound as an immediate five-alarm signal outlived populations that waited to see what happened next. This is what researchers now call the ecology of fear. A landscape reshaped not just by which predators exist, but by how much dread they generate. And on that landscape, humans sit at the very top, not because we are the strongest but because we are the most unpredictable, the most far-reaching, and the hardest to outplan. Here's the twist most people never think about. You are, right now, walking through a world that animals have already rearranged themselves around because of you. Deer shift their feeding times to avoid daylight hours near trails. Coyotes in cities have adjusted their entire schedules to move mostly at night, specifically to avoid encountering people. Elk change their grazing grounds not because a predator is chasing them in that moment, but because your species' reputation got there first. You don't have to say a word. You don't have to raise a weapon. Your voice alone functions as a landscape-altering force, carried forward not through claws or speed, but through millions of years of memory, cooperation, and reputation passed from one generation to the next. And maybe that's the real reframe here. You were never the strongest thing in the forest. You were never the fastest, the most heavily armored, or the hardest to kill. But you belonged to the one species that could remember an attack after everyone who witnessed it was gone, that could teach a lesson to people not yet born, And that could turn a single bad night around a fire into a warning that echoes for 1,000 years. So the next time a twig snaps in the dark and your body goes rigid with fear, remember this. Somewhere in that same forest something else may be freezing too. Not because it heard a threat. Because it heard you.